Good evening. I would like to reconvene and open the regular scheduled board meeting for the Mount Diablo Unified School District Governing Board for March 23rd, 2022. The first thing we will do is the Pledge of Allegiance. If you'll please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We'll do roll call. Trustee Fowler. Here. Vice President Zawi.
Here.
Trustee Mayo. Here. Trustee McFerrin.
Here.
Trustee Cowan.
Here.
I'm Trustee Mason, and I'm here as well. As we meet tonight, we recognize that we are in ancestral land of the Bay Miwoks and the Yokats, and that will take us to a preview and potential approval of the agenda. Dr. Clark.
Yes, Madam President, if we could, I would like to move item 18.1 down to 10.2. I want to respect any members from the Teamsters who came tonight, and so I want to move that item up on the agenda if possible.
All righty. If there are no other changes from the board, I'll entertain a motion.
Madam President, I'll move that the board approve the revised agenda, moving 18.1 earlier in the meeting.
Thank you.
Second.
Sure.
We have a motion and a second.
Fillmore?
Trustee Fowler?
Yes.
And that passes 5-0 with agreement from our student board member. I'll now do the report out from our closed session. 7.1, negotiations. The board may discuss negotiations or provide direction to its representatives regarding represented employees pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6, and the board received information. 7.2, discipline, dismissal, release, or reassignment of public employee, Government Code Section 54957B1. In closed session by a vote of 5-0 with no abstentions, the board took action to approve the resignation of employee number ID 27606 per the agreement. In closed session by a vote of 5-0 with no abstentions, the board also took action to rescind the non-reelection notices of the following four probationary certificated employees: ID numbers 10610, 44576, 43771, and 39373, and accept the resignations of those four individuals effective June 2nd, 2022. Next, 7.3, anticipated litigation, significant exposure to litigation or claims made pursuant to Government Code Section 54996.9 D2. The board received information. 7.4, existing litigation, conferences with legal counsel, paragraph 1 of subdivision D of a Government Code Section 54956.9, Mount Diablo Unified School District versus Clayton Valley Charter High School et al. Contra Costa Superior Court case number MSC 15-00574, First Appellate Court District case number 815 or A158195. The district received information. 7.5, admission of student number D22 to the Mount Diablo Unified School District. And in closed session, the board approved by a unanimous vote the admission of student number D22 to Mount Diablo Unified School District, placement to be determined by Student Services. That concludes what we took care of in closed session, and now we are ready for public comment. The public may address the board regarding items that are not on the agenda at this time. Okay. Marie Alvarado Gill.
Members of the board, Superintendent Dr. Clark, and friends of the Mount Diablo Unified School District community. I am Marie Alvarado Gill, Regional Director of Rocket Ship Public Schools and the co-founder of Rocket Ship Futuro Academy here in Concord. Approximately a year ago, the district approved a 5-year charter renewal for our school, herein becoming our authorizing district. This action not only elevated our relationship to a true partnership, but it also created an opportunity to engage in meaningful dialogue to serve our students and families at the best place that we could. With humility and much gratitude, I would like to express my appreciation to this board for recommending that Rocket Ship provide a seat on our national board for a parent that represents Contra Costa County. I'm thrilled to report that after many months of engaging with conversations with our teachers, staff, school leaders, and community members, current members of the Rocket Ship board have approved us to add an additional parent seat to our board. We currently have 2, and that third one will be filled by a Contra Costa County parent of our school. We have launched a robust application process to ensure that we are fulfilling our commitment, as well as ensuring that all families know of this opportunity and are able to apply. So this month, we initiated a multilingual communication campaign so that all our schools can receive the announcement that the application process is now open, which means that we sent home letters to in the backpacks of our students to all our families. In addition, we posted on all of our social media sites. We also sent out a one-call text message to all of our families in different languages as well, with a link to provide the application online as well. And at each of our offices, we also have packets of paper applications in multiple languages. So we're excited and hopeful that parents will take advantage of this opportunity. And I look forward to coming back in a few months so that you can meet our newly seated parent board member on the Rocket Ship National Board in May. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the update. Angel Bazan. Thank you, hon.
Good evening, board members, President Deborah Mason and Dr. Adam Clark. It's so good to be here tonight. My name is Angel Bazan Malera, or Angel B, as some people call me, or Angel for short. I'm here to talk about bullying because at the last board meeting a few months ago in December, a parent one of our district parents came and talked about one of their students, being bullied at their school. Not also like kids, but also adults also sometimes get bullied. I was bullied many times when I was in middle school, in 8th grade, and when I was in elementary in 4th and 5th grade. I was bullied many times to the point that I just wanted to end my own life. But at that point, in those dark days, when I was bullied, I sort of felt like I wasn't safe. But until I got to when I came to Concord High, I felt like I was in a safe place. And also, I struggled a lot with anxiety and some in transition, because right now I'm 18 years old, and there's something important that I want to tell you guys. I mean, I know that 18 years old is like almost like you're not allowed to be in high school anymore. But this is why I wanted to speak out, and also want to make sure that for kids like me who get bullied, and also, but the reason why I sort of, sorry about that, sorry, but also I sometimes, was held back. I sort of felt like I was sort of, falling behind on my education, because I think that every student in this district can help everyone, can also like be supportive of every student, because I think that everyone should get a second chance of education. I don't care. I'm sorry to say that, but I don't mind if students, no matter what their age is, I strongly ask that for me and other students future students that come into our school district will be supportive by any staff member or school that they choose to be a part of. For me, when I was in Concord High, I felt like I was in a safe place where I can learn and also regain my personality and also where I was meant to be in. And I can't thank one special person that helped me with this transition. My principal of Concord High, Ryan Falsgraf, helped me recover from all the trauma that I've been through when I was bullied. Because I think that other students should be able to, it doesn't matter what challenges they bring them, whether it's
Keep going, hon.
whether it's, whether it's they're being picked on because of their disabilities. Like for me, I am autistic and visually impaired. I would say this, like for any student in this district can also be supported, whether it's a teacher or staff member or a friend. Because for me, I think that Mount Diablo Unified should be able to help kids who are struggling with their education like me. Because I was in middle school from 13 years old to 15 years old. And do you think that 15 years old is a long time to be in middle school? No way. Middle school is like from 11 to 13 years old, and that's it. The reason why I was held back is because I was bullied and also to the point where I just wanted to end my own life. But also, I think that every student should get a second chance of their education. I would strongly recommend for every student to have a second chance, whether it's in elementary, middle, or high school. Thank you so much, and thank you for your time.
Well, Angel, thank you for being brave enough to come and share that with us. And we have Aaliyah Thomas.
Greetings, Mount Diablo Governing Board. Today, I would like to comment on the COVID policy you all have pertaining to parental chaperones on field trips, as well as being a volunteer. Next month will be my daughter's first ever public school field trip with her first grade class. She's excited and is even more thrilled at the idea of having me tag along. I'm going through the process of getting tested for TB and a live scan with a fingerprint. The only problem is Mount Diablo School Board decided that all parents requesting to be volunteers or chaperones must be fully vaccinated. I find this absurd, as well as a form of discrimination, because as your HR manager, Ryan Sheehy, said via a phone conversation, that there will be no exemptions given, nor are you allowing the option of a negative PCR test. Yet the state and the county have dropped mandates for wearing a mask, as well as having to show proof of a negative test when attending events or restaurants. I want you all to look at this picture I have here. It's a white only water fountain and a colored only water fountain. Now, even though discrimination against a person's skin color has a long traumatic history against my ancestors in this nation and is no way in comparison to what I'm talking about, but the idea of separation and discrimination does. So my question is, how do you tell a child that their parents can't attend or volunteer while other parents can? How do you teach your child with conviction and integrity about accepting other people's differences, as this young lady showed us, accepting other people's differences based on skin color, gender, or disability? But draw the line when it comes to a person's medical decision or condition. Does this not plant the seed of division and segregation? Does this not create a medical apartheid? I understand that there is an illness out there, and I would never put a child or staff in danger if I have a fever or if I have a cough. But however, there's another illness out there that can't be covered by a mask or a test or medicine. It is an illness slowly rising of dictatorship, control, exclusion, separation, and political gain that only suits best for some people, but not all people. Therefore, I'm asking the board to change their policy on their vaccination requirement. I'm almost finished. And allow for exemptions, a negative test, and a little more faith in our society, because vaccinated or not, we've all made it through the hardest times of this pandemic. So let's allow for all parents an opportunity to get back involved with their children and their community by not segregating who can parent and volunteer and who can't. Thank you.
All righty, is that it for our public comment? Oh, wait, maybe one more. Okay. So that takes us to our communications, 9.1, district organizations. At regular board meetings, a single spokesperson of each recognized district organization may make a brief presentations. Items are limited to those which are informational. So we have one of those. And we have Mark Jones. Well, I looked right here to the front where you usually sit and you were in the back.
I was used to sitting in the back in my school days. So I want to say that we are very relieved that the long, tireless process of negotiations is over for us, hopefully, after your vote tonight. We want to thank everybody involved in the process as well for the last, especially 2 weeks of real collaboration, because that's really when the rubber hit the road for us, and when we were able to have the meaningful talks to able to get to a resolve that works for all sides. Our members are excited, of course, we ratified overwhelmingly. So they're excited as well. I would like to remind everybody and the board that we will be back in negotiations December, January, and we will hope to be finished before June 30th, 2023. That's our goal, and I hope that it's the district's goal as well. Again, it is a great relief for us, and I think it's going to go a long way. These are some of our food service workers here. We have a side letter of agreement. Of course, we're going to continue working to get some equity in their wages. But again, I just wanted to say thank you all, and thank you, Dr. Clark, Dr. Rubio, Scudero, Ryan Sheehy. Thank you very much. So I guess that's all I have to say, right, guys? Yeah. All right, thank you.
Okay, that takes us to 10.0, recognitions and resolutions. 10.1, review and potential approval of resolution 20-20, or excuse me, .2264 in support of California Adult Education Week, March 27th through April 2nd. And I already saw our little adult ed catalog up here. So Dr. Clark.
Yep. So I bring before you tonight, Madam President, Resolution 21/24-64, California Adult Education Week, which is going to run between March 27th and April 2nd. Whereas from March 27th through April 2nd, the state of California will observe Adult Education Week, recognizing the unique accomplishments of California adult schools. And whereas the California State Senate acknowledges that K-12 adult schools offer quality programs meeting ever-changing economic, workforce, and lifelong learning needs of our diverse state. And now, therefore, be it resolved, the governing board of the Mount Diablo Unified School District hereby proclaims March 27th through April 2nd, 2022 as Adult Education Week, and salutes the teachers, administrators, classified staff, and students of adult education programs statewide, honoring their efforts, persistence, and accomplishments. Madam President, this resolution is now in the hands of the board.
Thank you, Dr. Clark. Board members. Any comments or motions or whatever?
Yes, I would just like to say, I really appreciate the adult school opportunities in our school district. And I've really enjoyed learning about the breadth of them over the period of time that I've been on the board. I've known about it as an opportunity for career and continuing education for adults, but really appreciated learning about the additional pieces and it is covered in this resolution. So I'll just read those two sections because I think it's really special that we provide this. That adult schools provide instruction to those in the state who need English as a second language and citizenship courses, and plays a key role in the immigrant integration and path to U.S. citizenship, which is important for our diverse communities and in this time of immigration reform. And adult schools recognizing that to break the cycle of illiteracy and to support educational equity for all our children, we must focus on educating parents, provide programs in family literacy at elementary schools in conjunction with community-based organizations. So I encourage everyone to come out and share this opportunity with people in the community and visit the programs because there's some incredible work being done out there. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other comments?
I would just like to say that for years we have said that lifelong learning matters, and that is certainly the case in the Mount Diablo Unified School Districts through the programs that we provide to our adults and to our teenagers. So thank you.
And I'll just say, I know that we're really lucky in MDSD to have prioritized adult education, and for all the reasons, Sharice, you stole my thunder that we said. No, I can't remember if you said GED as well, but the career, like even look, I love the day that this comes in the mail. They think twice a year or so, and it's fun to look through and to say, can I make any of these classes, especially the ones around cooking and whatnot, for that are community. So there's classes for career and technical, classes for citizenship, English language and whatnot, but also just, hobbies. And I think that's a real asset to our community. So I just want to thank all of the teachers and everyone who makes the adult school run.
Agreed.
So I move to approve Resolution 21-22-64 in support of California Adult Education Week, March 27th to April 2nd, 2022.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Trustee Fowler?
Yes.
And that passes 5-0 with agreement from our student board. And thank you, Ms. Abadi, for that. Would you like to?
Yes, if I could just ask for our staff here.
Come on up.
Thank you to our Board of Trustees. Thank you to all the staff, Superintendent Clark. Special thank you to Jen Sachs, who among our district staff provides particular support to adult ed. I would like to just ask, we have a few of our program coordinators who are leadership and support staff here, and like to ask them to stand and be recognized, if you please. You might recognize in particular, we have Judith Schieber in front, who oversees our ESL, family literacy, and our preschool, which are located at a number of sites, but probably most prominently at Cambridge and Meadow Homes. We have Irma Toman, who is the lead for parent education. She also oversees the program at Loma Vista Adult Center, which is our preschool there, which is a co-op preschool. And we have, I'm going to go to the back, Kathy Collins-Four is a pharmacist originally in her career, but a superb mathematician and other things. And she is now our program coordinator for our high school program, which is for adults when we have concurrently enrolled students who need credit recovery, also for the GED HiSET equivalency and basic skills for adults who are 8th grade or below and need to improve their skills, partly for modeling for their own children. And last but not least, I think that's last person here tonight is Priscilla Asuncion, who some of you know from originally HR, who worked in HR for many years and is now our office manager. So thank you to all of you. We greatly appreciate this recognition.
Thank you for having them come tonight. Okay, and the next item, I believe, Dr. Clark moved up from 18.1 to 10.2, correct?
That is correct. So, so Madam President, I want to present this item and I wanted to move it up in the agenda because we have Mark Jones, leader of Teamsters. I know we spoke earlier and he brought some of his team with him. And so we wanted them to witness this event and wanted just to acknowledge the hard work of all of our employees. You know, all of our employees play a critical role in supporting our students. And everyone and every adult in this district, that is their mission, is to support students. And so not that any one unit is any more important than the others, but we do want to recognize the hard work of Teamsters, and this is their night and their time to shine. So without further ado, I'm going to have Dr. Scudero present this item.
And with your permission, if I could bring up the Teamsters who were on the negotiation team, and the district team also, district team members are on the negotiation team. Come on up, Melanie. Dr. Rubio, come on up. Dr. Rubio and Mark and Juan were the magic sauce that helped us put this together in the last 2 weeks. So on behalf of both teams, we would like to recommend that you approve the mediated agreement between Teamsters Local 856 and Mount Diablo Unified School District. We turn this over to you.
Thank you. And go to the board for a motion.
Madam President, I move to approve the mediated agreement between Teamsters Local 856 and Mount Diablo Unified School District.
Okay, go ahead.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Trustee Fowler? Can't she vote? Our student on this one? Okay. Okay.
Yes.
I think she was going to, whether we told her she could or not.
Yes.
It passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you for your patience. Thank you.
And I just want to acknowledge our silent today only member, Cesar Alvarado, who's also part of the negotiation team. Thank you.
Thanks to all that were involved. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much to all the Teamsters here today and all of our Teamsters out there. And this is just a great example, I think, of what happens when we can come together and be creative and really look for a win-win scenario. So thank you.
Great. So that takes us to 12.1, presentation by Ignacio Valley High School's new mascot, or of the new mascot name of the Wolves.
So I am, Madam President, I want to introduce to you. I know he's been before this board previously when we welcomed him to our district, but this is Mr. Jonathan Pike, the principal of Ignacio Valley High School, and he's brought with him a team of students, and they have a presentation that they would like to present to the governing board, as well as those in the audience and those watching at home. So Mr. Pike, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Clark. President Mason, distinguished members of the board, Dr. Superintendent Dr. Clark, thank you. I am serving as the proud principal of Ignacio Valley High School, and I'm here, and it's my pleasure to present to you. And it gives me, it's an honor to be able to present to you for your review and approval, our Ignacio Valley High School's mascot change. Our agenda for this evening, I'm going to hit the button here, as you take a look as it follows at how it started, the background of our YV mascot, the new mascot timeline that we kind of went through, the rebuilding of our YV community pride, as well as rebranding and a board resolution. I'm not going to steal the show. This is about them. It's about what they did. And so I'm going to turn it over to our first student speaker, one of our student leaders, Kaya Morgan.
Do I need to be buttoning? You want me to button? You can. All right. Thank you. Hi, just gonna start off with introducing some of the student activists that were involved in this entire process. I am Kaya Morgan. Some of our members, I guess, couldn't be here today because of prior engagements. So Nikki McNabb and Mark Catapusan, as well as Kimberly Gallego will not be joining us, but this is Jennifer Bonifacio and Natalie Flores. So kind of just started off, well, there were a few different times it started off, I guess. In 2016, the staff and students voted to change the logo to the wolves. It did not go through successfully. And then more recently, in fall of 2020, a smaller group of staff and community members met to discuss change, being some of the current staff members at YVHS and some of the students here today, followed by a change.org petition just to show that the mascot was an issue that the community cared about, which then led to a student organized committee and a Surge student presentation, including some Native American speakers in a community forum. And like all of this was kind of just in guidance from the AB 30 California Racial Mascots Act, which technically the YVHS old mascot violated. More recently, that a lot of last year was trying to just get the okay to have it be changed. This year has been more about transitioning. And I think leadership has been doing a lot more work this year with us to try and get the new mascot really going. So this is a few of the names from our leadership class. Do you want to introduce all these people, and as well as the old team?
Well, can I reach it? Hello, I'm Jennifer Bonifacio and I'm ASB president. My VP is Juan Zaragoza Rios, which is a junior. Our junior president is Emily Mitchell. Her VP is Adrian Lomas, which is also a junior. Jennifer Vasquez is a senior. She is our senior president. Sigali Gallegos is her VP. Giselle Gallegos is one of our two sophomores. She is our president for the sophomores. And do you want to introduce them?
This is just the rest of the old team, plus Eric Rosas, who's here today with us for the mascot part, not the ASB leadership part. Next slide, please.
And hi, my name is Eric, and I'd like to give you guys a brief rundown of the background of the YV mascot. And the warrior mascot was originally used at Ignacio Valley in 1962. And 1962 was also the year that the last state in the U.S., which was Utah, guaranteed Native Americans the right to vote, meaning that our school was using indigenous people as our mascot when many people were still not allowed to vote. And there have been multiple pushbacks to change there have been several pushes to change the mascots dating all the way back to 1972, only 10 years after YV opened. The school did a major rebranding effort in 2015, 2016, and the student body voted to change the warrior mascot to wolves. And people left during summer thinking that we were gonna change to the wolves, but instead the headdress was just gone and was replaced with the W. So yeah.
Hello again, I'm Jennifer Bonifacio, and this is kind of just of our new timeline with the new mascot. September 10 of last year, we had an open town hall, which had a great turnout of students, staff, and community members. And we mostly discussed the following changes that would occur in the next couple of months. After that, we held a PTSA meeting with our PTSA to kind of have them involved and
inform them of our changes. After that, we started our nominations. We sent out a Google form to students and staff to hear what mascots they would like to suggest. Our second town hall, which was hosted at YVHS during lunch, was a student-led activity by the following members behind me and a couple students and other teachers. And we managed to narrow down our mascot choices to Grizzlies, Raptors, Ravens, Vipers, Wolves, and Wyverns. Thank you. Yes. After that, I think Pike sent out a parent newsletter, and just to keep them informed about the changes that were going to happen. September 29, Pike also held an alumni town hall, which only 12 alumni attended. And it was just to inform them of the following changes and how the student body was engaged with all the changes that were going on. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Natalie Flores. I am also part of the mascot committee. Voting started in September 13th and it went through the 30th of 2021. And our first round of voting received 444 votes and we used rank voting. Our top 3 mascots were Ravens, Wolves, and Wyverns. And on October 1st through the 7th of 2021, we had our second round voting that received 320 votes, also using rank voting. And our top 2 mascots were the Wolves and Wyverns. And then on October 7th through the 31st, my bad, of 2021, we had student designs that were submitted for the final 2 mascots. And our final round of voting took place on November 1st through the 5th. And we received 406 votes. And in the end, the Wolves won. So for rebuilding YV community pride, we realized that when we changed the mascot, there was a huge divide in the community with both students and teachers that had opposing opinions, and still to this day. But we believe that once we implement the Wolves, and why we believe it's important to implement the Wolves is we feel it's part of not just rebranding or rebuilding our community, but having YV be together as one again, and to kind of fix that divide that happened with the mascot change and all of the opposing opinions. And I think that with all the new classes that come in, we can really just start to rebuild a better YV community that people have pride in.
Just a quick run through of kind of what the history of the Warriors mascot at YVHS was. Originally, we did start off with this like very stereotypical depiction of a Native American man wearing a headdress, and that was like their mascot that was like seen, like made a caricature of. And that was kind of like watered down over time amongst a couple steps to just kind of like a more like geometrical, I guess, version of that, which then became just the YV and the W with the spear and arrow, which then became just warriors, but there would still be like what they would call the warrior heads around campus and lots of like warriors related lingo that's left over. And then our new mascot.
Our new mascot was based on a student design, which I think is really great. We had a lot of student involvement. The ASB leadership class gathered together to decide on, we had many submissions, so we decided on which one we liked the best. And I think this one really spoke to us. Using a graphic artist, we were able to get these designs back, and a student vote for the book design happened on March 15. Thank you. So logo vote, March 2022. This kind of shows the responses to which logo our student body liked. And as you can see, the majority voted for this mascot. Thank you.
Okay, so this is what kind of rebranding looks like on campus at YV, because a lot of people will tell you that the Warriors imagery isn't like barely anywhere on campus anymore, but it really is. And there's a couple of like really expensive things are gonna need replacing eventually. Like there's these murals in the gym floor, the football field, just like all over the school. And that's not including like anything that like goes out to students that are like sports equipment or uniforms or just like general school related merch. It's just like, it's still in very many places. Next slide, please. We didn't want to like just leave YV like a blank slate with like nothing there. So as part of incorporating the new mascot, like these were some of the like ideas that we had for like new possible murals to go up, just so there's still that sense of like school unity on campus. There's nothing there.
So what we're asking for is to retire the Warrior name, logo, and all affiliated imagery and language, and to officially adopt the Wolves as the YV mascot and logo. And what we hope can happen with this change is to, like I mentioned, bring the community together and to also just have students that attend YV feel safer because they'll feel more welcomed without being discriminated. And yeah, thank you.
I want to thank you because I really appreciate the process you went through, and any activity like this, it's important to have process and explain it so people don't feel left out. So I'm going to now see if any board members have any questions for you, but thank you very much for your presentation. Colleen.
I just have a statement from the former trustee that you guys worked with a lot. So I'm going to read that out. This is on behalf of her because I sent her this agenda item and I was like, I'm sure she wants to comment on this. So this agenda item is a testament to the power of student organization. I personally want to thank all of Ignacio Valley students, faculty, and community members that made this a reality. I remember going to my first meeting with the students who first pioneered the mascot change, the students that became the Students for Social Justice Committee, and being astounded by their wealth of information and knowledge on the harmful effects and implications of the racist mascot. I remember seeing the solidarity from students and teachers alike who supported a Zoom profile picture denouncing the racist imagery, an awareness initiative spurred by students. These students were well prepared and well informed, and their tendency in gathering input, facing adversity, and bringing it to the board shows today. MDUSD thanks you, the Students for the Social Justice Committee, for remaining steadfast in what you knew was derogatory and harmful to our community. I hope that this change and hopefully an unanimous vote will empower more students to seek the change they wish to see and embolden them, because we all should have equal footing and status in MDUSD. So that was her statement. I also want to thank you guys for all the work you put in and the patience you had, because we all know that passing stuff through the board takes a really long time, unfortunately. So I'm very happy you guys put this in and we're gonna prove it. Yeah. So we wanted to thank you, and I really appreciate all of the work you did too.
Thank you so much. It means a lot.
I just think you like all should be campaign managers when you grow up. This was just such a flawless campaign in my mind, just from beginning to end. And that it took 50 years for this, from the first time students tried to do this, and that you get to get over the finish line. I couldn't be more proud. So thank you.
Thank you.
Ditto to everything that was just said. But you know, it really is a testament to what change can happen when students take the lead. And I think similar to what Trustee Nzewi was just saying, the way that you led, I think made a huge difference. The research that your team put in at the very beginning led to the board resolution that we passed last year, because you had information not only about what the community was looking for and how students felt on campus, but you also had researched the state and national laws on this. So we were able to use that data in our board resolution for the district as a whole, not just for your school. And then your persistence in following this through this year, it is a huge process to go through to bring a whole community together, and you're almost there. So I think, like you said, once you're able to fully implement it, you'll be able to really bring that unity to campus and to make it a place that everyone feels welcome. So thank you for all of your work.
Thank you.
I also forgot to mention that I was talking about Trustee Khan in the beginning of the year. We had an incident at College Park where a lot of students wanted to, from the BSU, wanted to walk out and do a protest, but she reminded me of how you guys were so patient and didn't resort to that in a sense. And that really inspired me to do something else to create change. And it led to something really influential and impactful. So thank you for inspiring other leaders in our community to help create change in a really peaceful way.
Thank you.
Dr. Clark?
Yes, so this item before you tonight, it's information only, because this is something that's been in the works for 50 years. And so we want to make sure that we are dotting every I and crossing every T, and that any action that the board takes someone can't come back and challenge it and say that we didn't give the community enough time or whatnot. So tonight, unfortunately, we're not going to vote on this item tonight, but we will be, it'll be in our consent item next week or at our next meeting. And then the board will take formal action on this. And, I just want to commend you all for going through the process and staying patient. But at the end of the day, no one can say that you didn't do things the correct way. And so I really want to appreciate you all for that. I also, want to also recognize Ms. Reed in the audience. I know that she mentors a lot of you students as well, and also Mr. Pike in bringing you students forward tonight. So thank you very much, and this item will come back.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, that takes us to 12.2, review and potential approval of board policy 6146.1, retroactive granting of high school diplomas due to internment. Dr. Clark.
So I like the initiative to coming up to the mic, because I was getting ready to call. That's okay. That's okay. This is another item that has been in the works for many years. I don't think that I need to give the board or anyone in here a history lesson, but this is an item that California has changed the law on this, and we did want to recognize individuals who during a previous time were not allowed to finish up their high school careers. And so it was one of the injustices that took place in our country, and this is our unique way of trying to right a wrong. But I believe that this discussion came up in a ethnic studies class, and really came from Mount Diablo High School. So we do have some representatives tonight in the presentation, and so since they're already at the mic, we might as well turn it over to them and let them go ahead and share. So
thank you so much.
The floor is yours, ma'am.
Madam President and other members of the board and Dr. Clark, my name is Kimmy Dowell, and I am a very proud member of the Mount Diablo High School class of 1958. I'm here to follow up on a letter that I sent to the board requesting that the board authorize the issuance of retroactive honorary high school diplomas to about 40 Japanese American students who were enrolled at the school in 1942. These students were forced to evacuate the school or leave the school following the attack on Pearl Harbor and the signing of Executive Order 9066 by President Roosevelt. These students under this order, 110,000 Japanese Americans and their resident alien parents were forced to be removed from the West Coast en masse, without due process, into detention centers in remote areas of the United States. My parents and I were included and subject to that order. I wish to underscore that my request is not intended to undermine the sacrifice, the hardship, and the losses suffered by so many Americans during World War II. And I particularly point out the other Germans and Italians, people of their descent, who also suffered as much as the Japanese to some extent, but they were not subject to en masse incarceration, though some were incarcerated following due process. Pertinent to my request is Assembly Bill 781, which has been codified into the Education Code, Article 3.5, which clearly provides the authority of the board to grant this request. Ms. Valdez, who is behind me, and a faculty member of Mount Diablo High School, and I have been able to identify approximately 40 Japanese students from the school's yearbook. I have been able to contact personally almost all of those students or their descendants, except for 3. Most of them are deceased, but for 3 who are still alive. Here are just a few of their stories. The most heart-wrenching are the stories of the 7 male students who volunteered for the U.S. Armed Services while their parents were incarcerated. Sam Fukuhara was a staff sergeant for the U.S. Army Regiment 442nd, also known as the Go for Broke Regiment. This was a segregated voluntary regiment that garnered more honors than any other regiment in the armed services. The valor of these students are recounted in a book entitled Facing the Mountain, written by a New York Times famous author. This is Daniel Brown, excuse me. Natsu Ikeda was a junior whose New York Times obituary disclosed that she was interred at Gila, Arizona. She lived in New York City and became prominent in the art administration of many public facilities and institutions, including the National Endowment for the Arts, Ballet Spanico, and the Harlem School for the Arts. Tats Kaneda was a football player. He also joined the 442nd with 3 of his other brothers, Harry, James, and George. James was killed in action in Europe. Jack Kusaba served in the U.S. Military Intelligence Service in Washington, D.C., interpreting the intercepted messages of the Japanese Imperial Army. He retired from the U.S. Navy Reserve as a lieutenant, went to Cal, graduated from Hastings, and became a banker and a lawyer. My hope is that this year's graduating class would be proud and honored to accept these students into their graduation ceremony. Notably, this year's graduation coincides with the 80th year recognition of the evacuation order. The board's approval would support its stance of justice, equity, peace, and inclusiveness. It would also, if they approve it, demonstrate to the students and the community the equity that comes from restorative justice, its intolerance for racial discrimination, and the importance of developing such students as those behind me to become engaged citizens. So thank you so much for your attention and consideration.
Thank you. Are the students going to speak as well?
Yeah.
Good evening, board members and Dr. Clark. My name is Arshpreet Garcha. I'm a senior at Mount Diablo High School. I started my freshman year knowing I would graduate with my peers. The Japanese students who were forcefully sent to these internments also thought like me, but they did not get to receive the same opportunity that mostly me and my peers do. Instead of graduating high school, they were surrounded by barbed wire fences that were patrolled by armed guards who were prepared to shoot anybody who dared to leave. While the rest of the 1942 class at Mount Diablo High continued life, lived their high school experience, and graduated,
The Japanese students receive not even commemoration. I would be devastated if a portion of my class was with me in class one day and never seen again the next. Despite the passage of time, there is an abundance of misinformation regarding the internments. We must look into the facts and not propaganda. Japanese Americans were incarcerated against their wills. In 1980, the US government concluded that Japanese internments during World War II were based strictly on racial bias. They weren't spies, they weren't threats to national security, they were students who walked the same halls as I do, had the same dreams and aspirations. They were involved in many clubs and activities throughout school. They prioritized their education, and now it is our turn to prioritize them. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, since I started high school, graduation was something I could look forward to. My friends and I would always mention it and couldn't wait to be seniors so we could go to prom and finally graduate. Senior year started, and within the first few months, I found out what had happened to the Japanese Americans in 1942, and that there were about 40 Japanese American students that were evacuated from Mount Diablo High School. I couldn't help but feel sick about the whole situation, finding out how some of them were so close yet so far from graduating and receiving a diploma they worked so hard for. Finding out how they were really active in the school clubs and sports. I wouldn't be able to imagine having to go through so much just like they did. I, Evelyn Suarez, along with my peer Arshpreet, are here to represent the senior class of 2022 and say that it would be an honor to have this ceremony and give out honorary diplomas to the Japanese American students that attended Mount Diablo High School during 1942. I'm asking you to make, second, and approve a motion. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you. The teacher doesn't want to speak to us?
Yes, please.
I thought we were on a time limit. Hello, I'm
Go
Laura
ahead.
Valdez. I am the ethnic studies teacher, and I also teach world history in the Acme Academy at Mount Diablo High School. I really wanted to let the kids speak because, you know, I met Miss Kimmy over here and by chance, and it felt like a great project. And I just happened to share that excitement with my students. And I never asked them to come. This is all them. The letters, I think they flooded your inboxes. Sorry about that. And it really just became like a passion project for my students and myself and for Kimmy and her husband over there. And I think it's just a beautiful opportunity to, first of all, get these kids civically engaged because that's so important to get to use your voice. And then secondly, because this is, even though 80 years has passed, this is still a way for us to acknowledge that they matter, right? And that the experiences of people of color and people who have been forced through oppression, that, you know, that they matter. So anyway, I'm proud and I'm hopeful that we can get approval. Thank you.
Well, I wanted to thank you for teaching this lesson because as the letters were coming in and I read them all, I reflected on when I was raised. I'm old. So my dad had Italian-American friends that suffered some of the same, not as bad, but some of the same consequences. My mom worked at Camp Stoneman in Pittsburgh and told the stories of how they had to turn off the lights at night. It was a frightening time in our history.
Yeah.
And if there's not people like these people that are willing to step forward and share those experiences with our kids, it gets lost. And you've really made it real for them and touch them. And I think that's when you remember something and it sticks with you, is when you can relate to it. So thank you for teaching that.
Thank you.
Any other comments from board members?
I'll just acknowledge the students again. Your methodical campaign, letter writing campaign although the letters may have gotten buried by other issues, because they came in like daily or like this nice cadence, it always was at some point at the top of our inbox. And so your tenacity as well to get something done 80 years later is amazing. Thank you.
Trustee Mayo?
I want to applaud the students and our guest for following up with this. My family physician, since I've been married and resided in Pleasant Hill, was John Kikuchi, who had an office across from Mount Diablo Hospital. He was instrumental in working with Mount Diablo Hospital, and he was our family physician for over 30 years. I do know that he received his letter from Stanford in 2005, and we were able to participate in that honor. And I know how meaningful that was to him. So I appreciate the efforts that you have undertaken to honor the families and the descendants of those individuals. My daughter met Dr. Kikuchi's son, who is also a physician, recently, and he remembers that event, as do we. And it was a defining moment for him to acknowledge the service that his father had provided to the U.S. Air Force during World War II, as well as to commemorate, is not the right word, but to honor the, what do I want to say, internment, to value, to recognize what those individuals went through during that time. So thank you very much.
And this actually is, go ahead, and then we'll, yeah, you go.
I just wanted to applaud the students for your activeness in this and sending in those emails again and again, like everyone else was saying. And I think tonight, so far in our hour at 6 o'clock, we've seen how influential student voices can be and how powerful they can be. So thank you.
So yes, thank you very much to everyone who brought this forward and for your tenacity in doing that. I remember my college roommate telling me her family history as their family having been interned, and I did not know what she was talking about. It's not something I had learned about in school, that it was a piece of our history. You know, ever since, it's something that I really do feel like we all need to recognize that happened, and so that it never happens again in this country. This is another way to do that as well. So I really appreciate all of your efforts, and that our district will have the opportunity to give this recognition to these students.
I put together some comments on this. So I want to start by thanking the staff for putting together this comprehensive policy that I think we'll be able to put to good use now and in the future, if and when the board considers similar requests. I want to thank Kimmy Dowell for bringing this idea to our attention and for all of the work that she's done to locate the impacted students and their families when possible. I appreciate that Ms. Dowell's actions have had a measurable and meaningful impact on our students at Mount Diablo High School. I want to thank Laura Kelty Valdez, who's an exceptional teacher, for the work that she does both in her history and ethnic studies courses. Whenever I observe a class, which I'm always glad to do, either as a mentor or a member of a visiting WASP team, I always look to see what the students are doing so that I can evaluate the teacher. And so kind of that said, the letters that I've received from Ms. Kelty Valdez's students were well written, poignant, and demonstrated deep and incredible empathy and text to self connections. So Ms. Kelty Valdez, I know that your job requires so much from and of you, and thank you for all that you do within and outside of your job description for our students at Mount. You're really appreciated there.
Thank you. That means so much.
And I also want to, of course, thank our students at Mount who wrote to us and who spoke tonight, Arshpreet and Evelyn. Arshpreet was a freshman in my English class a couple years ago and impressed me then and impresses me now, obviously. So I want to thank you, students, for channeling your time and energy into this incredibly important effort. And I hope that seeing this item come together like it has shows you how much power you have in your voices. I can't wait to lose my own voice cheering for you all at your graduation in just a couple of months. So, you know, once or a double. Yeah, if I can beat you to it. Okay, Madam President, I move that the board approve board policy 6146.1, retroactive granting of high school diplomas due to internment.
I'll second.
Okay, you have a motion and a second. Trustee Fowler?
Yes.
That passes 5-0 with concurrence from our students. Thank you so much.
Thank you again.
Okay. Well, Now it's board reports. I feel like we got a tough act to follow here after 2 sets of students, but we'll go ahead and we'll start with trustee Cowan.
Okay, wow, that is a tough act to follow. Well, I'll follow it by first describing a couple of things I went to this week or since the last meeting. And one was the Ignacio Valley Open House event, which was a really beautiful, multilingual, multicultural event that incorporated our Afghan students, our Muslim student club, the Islamic Center, and many other groups, including DVC also was there. It was really great to have it in person. I think it was the first in-person event that the school has had in a really long time. And parents really came together to make it possible. If you missed it, I would recommend that you check out Project 212, the robotics club, on social media, because they posted all of their pictures, and I think their presentation may be up there as well. Their students presented their robotics team. They had the robot reveal, and each of the students on the team gave part of the presentation, and they are so professional in that club. You feel like you're, at a company presentation ready to invest. So it was wonderful. I also went to participated in the CSBA Legislative Week, lobbying for all of our CSBA issues statewide. In particular, the need at the state level to raise the base to increase funding for all of our public schools. Also attended the PAC and DLAC meeting. And then I was honored to be the guest speaker at the Yours Humanly Gala event on Saturday, which Yours Humanly, if you haven't heard of it, is a nonprofit organization dedicated to students' most basic needs to attend school, both locally and globally. And they do a lot of work right here in our Mount Diablo School District, and their founder lives in this area as well. And I also had a couple interesting meetings. One was with Kajal Shahali and Jane Pack from the RIT, Refugee and Immigrant Transitions. And they spoke very highly of our staff that has been working to help them enroll our immigrant students, particularly from Afghanistan. And the HOPE team, James Wogan, Moni Bonsak, really help them navigate through, all the kind of different barriers that you run into. They also recognize that our systems are not fully set up for this sort of thing, and that it's the kind of thing that we're not expecting to end anytime soon. We're going to have more of an influx of refugee students even into the coming years. So RIT is an organization that has experience and a successful track record in assisting school districts in setting up these systems. So there's an opportunity there, perhaps. Sometimes they even help in both strategizing and also funding the personnel and the systems needed to make that happen. The challenges that we face without having the system fully set up is that students come here, they try to enroll, and sometimes in our district this year, they've waited up to 3 months to start school. So it really is crucial that we figure out, it is hard when people don't have, all the standard paperwork and all of that, but we can do better, and we really need to. Lastly, I met a student, Hayden Yu, who is a high school student at Northgate, who really wants to get something going here in the district. She has a vision of bilingual Mount Diablo high school students mentoring and tutoring K-12 students whose first languages are not English. She already has a group of 12 high school students from various high schools in the district who speak Korean, Spanish, Farsi, Chinese, and German, who are interested in this project. So really excited to connect them with all of the appropriate staff to get that moving. And lastly, just a couple of resources out there for high school seniors. That exciting news that the financial aid form deadline got extended to April 1st. So if you have not filled out your FAFSA or your CATA, you don't have to be a citizen or a documented student. fill out one of those forms, and it really makes a huge difference for any kind of continuing education that you want to do, including our wonderful adult education school right here. And then now that we are kind of moving forward beyond our negotiations with our staff, I am reflecting on the kind of what people need beyond salaries, right? The level of anxiety and stress that all of us are under is immense. And one tool out there that I just want to highlight for anyone who may be interested is it's a website called constantloveandlearning.com, and it's led by a parent in our district, Dr. Katie Rahr. And she provides free tools and support and even groups for educator well-being. And so it's just a really great resource out there that I would encourage people to check out. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee McFerrin, you want to go next?
All right. So I also was able to go to Project 212's robot reveal, although I could not get into the room. It was a really well-attended event, which was actually more exciting to see in some ways than seeing the event. I was so glad to see so much support for our students. And that night, YB was kind of really buzzing and vibrant. So that was really great to experience. And then after that, I stopped by the Concord High Area Music Festival, also a packed room, and really incredible performances from elementary through high school. And so I appreciated that and appreciate all the work that went into putting on that event. On Monday, I had an appointment, so I took a day off, and then in the afternoon, I swung by Mount Diablo High School. And so I enjoyed that very much. Got to see some of my former students who are all doing well, got to observe some presentations in a world history class. And I look forward to spending more time there when I can. I also, on Monday, attended the Core Literature and Nonfiction Supplemental Reading List Revision Committee. Trustee Fowler was also there. Thank you for being there and being at Student Voice, which is so important in these groups. And we spent a great deal of time talking about language, although of course I think language is really important. So that was time well spent, and I appreciate the thoughtfulness within that group. I also, I've been continuing on with my Grading for Equity year-long cohort, which I haven't talked about in a while, but I had an after-school workshop where yesterday where we were working on talking about our action research in kind of the equitable practices that we are trying out in our classrooms. We also are kind of rolling this out a little as much as we can, kind of campus-wide in some of our morning meetings. So with a colleague, I've been presenting on a group on minimal points for homework and focusing grading on summative assessments. So that's been interesting and rewarding work. And then last, I want to say that the last few days have been felt just a real sense of relief. I'm so glad that we have a tentative agreement with Medea, and I am very much looking forward to moving forward and to seeing that presented here. That's all I have tonight.
Thank you. Trustee Azewi?
Sorry. I attended some of the things that the people said, and most of them I did not. So there's my quick report. But I wanted to take the opportunity as we close out Women's History Month. Last time, Trustee Fowler honored me, took me totally by surprise. And I wanted to say thank you, but I want to honor her because as our student trustee, she too, as she looks up to me, I feel really fortunate to have her as someone that my daughter looks up to and that I look up to equally, because you have led this year. It's hard, if we realize that it's March, and so she's going to leave us soon somewhere. It's fabulous, hopefully wherever, well, you said you were stressed out about choosing college, but wherever you choose, it will be the right choice that was meant for you. But the way that you lead and that you bring, that you make sure that the student voice is always present here at this dais, the way that you are committed to doing your very best to include every student voice, not just those who have straight A's or who are recognized leaders at their school campuses, is yet another example of why I think our young people are going to make us okay. So to that, thank you. And that's all I've got.
Thank you. Trustee Mayo?
Yes, thank you. I attended the PAC meeting on March 15th, and of course, the board governance meeting yesterday was informative, and a lot of progress was made on our equity policy. I've been following the CSB advocacy to increase the LCFF-based grant and to provide relief for the CalSTRS and CalPERS expenses from outside of Prop 98 revenue. So I appreciate those of you who were able to participate in person, and I have been doing so likewise. I want to thank parents and business and the Mount Diablo community for supporting the MDEDF Education Foundation annual giving campaign, which was the Give $10 or 10 minutes to promote the foundation's goals. $20,834 was raised through small and large donations, with 60 plus new donors, which we hope will continue to donate in the future. The amount exceeded the Give campaign goal of $18,000. So we're excited that we were able to achieve that goal despite the challenges that everyone is undergoing because of the pandemic. Our annual goal for fundraising is $139,000, and to date we are at $109,000. We have $30,000 more of programs planned, and we are still working on fundraising. So donations are accepted at any time at mdedf.org. I want to also let you know that if you have a little bit of change in your pocket, Mount Diablo Council of PTAs is accepting donations and in memoriam contributions for graduating high school senior scholarships for Mount Diablo high school students, Crossroads students, Prospect, Horizons, and Diablo Day students. These sites don't have parent organizations to provide these scholarships, and these schools serve students from every school in the district. So please contact Cheryl Colano, the president, Sherry Whitmarsh, the treasurer, or myself for details on how you can donate to our scholarship program. On March 11th, we held the Contra Costa County Science and Engineering Fair. We had 86 judges turn out and 90 projects were judged. Winners were selected. The day for volunteers began at 6 in the morning and we finished at 10 o'clock at night. And then there was work done on Saturday and Sunday as well. Students were interviewed and sweated bullets from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. in 15-minute intervals. The awards and the projects are amazing. So I suggest that you visit bayleads.org to see who the winners were and what projects they presented that astounded our judges. The CAC is supporting a universal screening for dyslexia bill, SB 237. There's a rally in San Francisco City Hall on March 29th at 11 o'clock. That's a Tuesday. The goal is to raise awareness and support for universal screening for children at the risk of dyslexia. And it's hoped that this continued pressure and demonstrated support will make this a priority for our governor and to move the needle away from the influence of detractors. We know that early screening and evidence-based interventions work, and we hope that this will help move this bill forward. I also want to share a couple of other bills that I would hope that you would look at and follow. One of them is AB 58. It's pupil health suicide prevention policies and training. And this is where children and families would receive holistic mental health support services for their health, growth, and education. And we have already updated our suicide prevention policy, and this would encourage other school districts to do the same and revise training materials to incorporate best practices on suicide prevention. AB 558 is school meals, the Child Nutrition Act of 2022. This would encourage school districts to offer plant-based meals at schools, which we do already, and also encourages school districts to offer non-school meals to non-school age siblings, half siblings, and step siblings of students who use free or reduced price lunch program, as well as foster children at schools from 1st to 6th grade. I'm also watching AB 1614, which of course would increase the school, the LCFF space grant. I think we're all in support of that one. The other one that's important too is AB 1675. This would be an expedited application process for teacher credentialing of military spouses. Teaching is the most common occupation for military spouses, and lengthy relicensing requirements discourage spouses from applying for their California teaching credential. With 400,000 military spouses in California alone and a 10% identifying education as their career, this would potentially add 4,000 military spouses as teachers for California schools and students. So I hope you would look into that bill. I have two more, SB 291, Giving Students a Voice Act. This bill would provide students a voice on a special needs advisory board at the state level so that this committee, this advisory board would understand the issues that our special needs students are experiencing. And the SB 878, the Road to Success Act, is the universal bus transportation bill. It seems, what do I want to say? Impossible to suddenly implement a transportation program in California statewide, but it has been proven that students will participate and attend school more if they go to school on a bus daily in kindergarten. It's a proven study, and currently California law does not require school districts to transport students. And I do believe that this could have an impact both on student performance and attendance, as well as perhaps reducing the effects of pollution from buses, especially if we can move to electric buses. This will take a long time, should it pass, to work out all the details, but we were able to implement CSR in 6 months. Mount Diablo already has a transportation department. I think that we could make some progress there. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Fowler? I almost didn't let you go first because now I have to follow you, but go ahead.
Thank you, Trustee Nzeri, for that. Really means so much to me. And for your daughter, Adora, to look up to me. I think she's great. And I can't believe she knows about HBCUs at this age. Like, that's amazing. I didn't know until last year. So my information sessions for being a student board member went pretty well. So please get those applications in. Due to my experience, I've learned so much about how life works. In a sense, I think that's a good term to use, how life works, being on this board and representing the students and giving them a voice. And I believe if I didn't have this position, I wouldn't have gotten into the college I've gotten into with merit money that some colleges gave me too. So having this position has really helped me flourish and helped me make connections and opportunities that will only better my future and career. Next, I attended a meeting
with the community on how to help get back fourth grade music, which was great to hear and sit in and listen on. I also had Susan Hartwig, the head of the English Core and Curriculum Committee, come to speak at the last Student Advisory Committee meeting. And she just gave a brief overview and an update on what we've been doing. Some students had some comments and questions, which was really great to have their voices get involved in such a huge opportunity that we're going to be implementing into this district soon. We also revised the MDOC equity statement with my committee as well to make it a little bit more student friendly so students can comprehend and get more involved in the district and what we've been doing. And then as Trustee McFerrin said, I was at the Corwin Novels List Committee meeting where we finalized some things, and I'm so excited for when it will come to the board, and I cannot stress enough how influential this new English curriculum will be for the students, especially students of color. And I cannot wait for some of them to actually see themselves and reflect on what they're reading and relate to it. I unfortunately haven't had that experience, but I can't wait for my future generations too. I also attended Alhambra's Black Student Union's kickback. They had some really great speakers come, and it was really nice to connect with them. And then this Friday, College Park's Black Student Union, I'm hosting an open mic night. I invited numerous Black student unions in the district and out of district, like Clayton Valley, Condolet de la Salle, Acalanes, Alhambra. I've invited a lot of them to come as well. So you guys are all welcome to come too. Maybe speak a little if you're down. And then I have this huge network of BSUs, and I think it's because I'm in this position and also being the president of it. And although those roles have a lot of responsibility to it, I wouldn't want it any other way. And then lastly, with the new mask mandate, things have been going pretty well. There are many students who still wear their mask. I still wear my mask. I believe a lot of students are they feel a little weird without it on. And I know teachers have said that as well. But I think as soon as it gets hotter out, people will take it off more. And I know some students are really happy this mandate came at this time because now it's getting hotter. So everyone's taking it off. So it's really nice to see everyone's faces and making sure everyone's safe as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Well, Trustee McFerrin, I think you couldn't get into the robotics room because I got the last slot. As you saw me right at the door. It was a great show with the Rockin' Robot, and they were actually taking it on the road to several presentations. So I had emailed the young man that invited me and told him they did a great job. I went to the music festival at Mount Diablo High School, which was all Bay Point students, at College Park and Ignacio Valley High School, and saw all the band performances, and thanked the teacher that had came here to our last meeting, invited us to all of those. I listened to a webinar on the governor's rollout of pre and TK, and it really confused me more than clarified things, which is not unusual for things coming down from the state. And then yesterday I went and had Java with Janice, which is the principal of Rio Vista, and met with some of her parents in the morning, and was really happy to see our staff out there doing signups for TK. So that was what I've done since our last meeting, and I'll now turn it over to Dr. Clark.
Thank you so much. It's a quite overwhelming hearing about all the work that you all are doing in your in your positions, but it sounds like there's a lot of great things going on in the district, and I don't have an exhaustive report tonight. I just wanted to give the students who were coming out tonight, that opportunity. We've gone through a lot in this district over this last year, and definitely, as I would say, the 18 months that I've been here, it just seems like there's just one thing after another, and oftentimes we forget the gem that we have in each and every one of our classrooms and schools, and that's our students. And so every opportunity that I get to interact with students or whatnot, I just really cherish those moments. And so I'm really hoping as we move forward that it can become a regular event where we have student presentations coming to the board and sharing what they're what they're doing and the projects they're working on, ways that we can continue to improve the district and better serve all students. But I do have a couple of important announcements. We have several pallets of at-home COVID tests, and our M&O team have already delivered those out to school sites. And so as we get ready to go on spring break at the end of March, we are going to be sending each student who wants one home with a test, as well as any staff. So then after spring break, they can test before they come back and and continue to remain safe and isolate if they need to. With the mask mandate lifting, again, it's sort of hit and miss. And so, I've been very impressed that we have not had either issues coming from one side or the other, folks who are pro-mask and folks who are anti-mask. I think that, we are really cohabitating. And I think that's important, and that's a great example for our young people. We don't want young people to be pressured either way into either wearing a mask or not. However, with that said, COVID is still out there, and we still need to be vigilant. And our employees and staff are still, expected to be fully vaccinated or participating in our testing programs. And although our numbers in our testing programs have fallen off over the last few weeks, we are continuing to run them at the same level and same schedules that we were running them several weeks ago. So we want to continue to do that. I'm also happy to announce that as we were preparing for the pandemic last year, we had ordered outdoor tables, lunch tables, and umbrellas for the sites who needed them. And I think even sites who didn't need them, we still ordered some. And I know that there was a huge backup, but I'm happy to report that those tables are coming in and they are being delivered and assembled at sites. And so we're starting to see pictures pop up here and there with those tables. But again, it's unfortunate that we didn't have the rainy season that I was hoping for and wishing for. The things that stress me out is the drought. That's what really stresses me out. I don't want to live in the desert. And so anyway, but the benefit of that is that we can do more activities outside, whether it's lunchtime or reading time or just other things that can take place outside. So we are happy that those tables are going out. We spent over $1 million on those tables, so we want to make sure that those are getting out to all the schools. I'm proud to announce, and we've shared this in our Friday letter, but since we're starting to enter the season, I wanted to bring this up, is that at Concord High School on April 23rd, we will be hosting the first Contra Costa County Pride Prom. And this is not only does it really reflect the mission of this district and of this board, but also we're including the Martinez Unified School District, Carondelet, De La Salle, Clayton Valley Charter, and this is a direct acknowledgement. We want to acknowledge the PFLAG from Clayton and Concord, and also the Rainbow Community Center. So they are the ones who are organizing this. We're just hosting it, but we are very, very happy to host this event. I think the message that you heard from our students this evening is all about being inclusive and understanding our history, and also righting the wrongs of the past as we go forward. And so I think this is something that we all want to celebrate. My days of chaperoning proms are hopefully over. I've done plenty of chaperoning, but this is something that who knows, I may put on my chaperone hat and get my ruler and head out to the prom and see if they need some help. So anyway, that concludes my report tonight. I'm just very happy and proud of this board of how you all have remained laser focused on our mission, and that is to educate each and every kid in this district. And you empower me to really see that through, and we're working hard to see that happen. And I, not only am I extremely proud of you, I'm proud of the entire staff. My immediate staff at the Dent Center and beyond, but also, the principals, classified staff, certificated class staff throughout the district, and the hard work that they're doing. So again, thank you for your leadership. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Mr. Mims? Good to see you.
It's been some time to the board. William Mims, Education Chair of East County NACP. Dr. Clark, I didn't just single you out for the speaker card. I was just mainly wanting to speak on the board reports. They're quite long. So, I mean, my suggestion to you, because the majority of people who are here did not come here really to hear the report. They want these agenda items here. So I would suggest, to bring some relief to the people, is to move your reports to the end of the agenda. I mean,
So sorry you haven't been here. This is one of the first times we've had them. We've been moving them to the end of the agenda all year. And we saw you come in and we just wanted to impress you. So we put it back.
serious. Well,
No, we have been doing that. When we've had a lot of full house, we move them to the back, to the end of the agenda.
Yeah,
But for you, I kept mine brief. Did you notice that?
oh, it was quite short, but the rest of them was quite long, quite extensive, But anyway, I just hope that you would really consider the people, because, thank you, appreciate that.
Okay, that brings us to the consent agenda. Items on the consent agenda are approved as a whole. And unless there is something that is pulled by a member of the public or a board member, is there anybody that would like to pull anything from the consent agenda? If not, I will entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the items listed under the consent agenda.
Thank you.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Trustee Fowler?
Yes.
And that passes 5-0 with accordance with our student member. Okay, that takes us to our business items, 18.1, review and potential approval of the, oh, we did that one, sorry. Move that one forward. Review and potential approval of courses of study for secondary AVID courses, and we had this at a previous meeting for information, so if the board has no further questions or comments, I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the courses of study for secondary AVID courses.
Second.
Thank you. Trustee Fowler?
Yes.
And that passes 5.0 with the approval of our student rep. 18.3, review and actuarial evaluation report from retiree health liabilities as of June 30th, 2021 under Government Accounting Standards Board, or GASP 74/75.
Yes, and Dr. Gonzalez is going to introduce this item, and I believe she has a guest.
That I do. Good evening, board members, superintendent.
executive cabinet members and members of the public. This evening, we have with us Luis Murillo. He is a consulting actuary. He's from Total Compensation Systems. And now that COVID is finally over, he's able to come and actually present this report and answer any of the questions. The report has been made public and it's been on our website for about the last, I'd say, 4 to 5 months. As a matter of fact, if anybody would like to see all of these reports, we have all of our presentations and all of our reports. This is one of the ones at the very bottom, but you can see 5 or 6 years worth of these. But what he's going to do is he's going to explain the retiree health benefits under GASB 75 that really focuses on something that we call OPEB, other post-employment benefits. I know there have been many questions. He has heard all the questions, and so he's ready to respond to many of those, but I will turn it over to Mr. Murillo.
Good afternoon, Superintendent Clark, Board President Mason, and esteemed board members and members of the public. So I'm here to present your results of the actual evaluation that was performed as of June 30th, 2021. And really, the purpose of the evaluation is to provide an estimated value or cost for providing retiree health benefits to your employees. And so what we're going to focus today on this presentation will be, what are you currently offering your employees? What's the purpose of this valuation? Then show some results of this valuation. And then also, how can you pre-fund this liability? And by pre-funding means setting aside assets so that you can start putting, setting assets aside to pay for this benefit. And then what are potential benefit changes that are out there that you could possibly do to reduce the cost of this benefit in the future? And so first is, what are the current benefits that you're offering? And so you participate in CalPERS medical system. And what that means is that you're governed by statute, by law. And so CalPERS has a certain set of rules under a law called PEMCA. And one of them is that you have to provide a minimum benefit to your employees. And that minimum benefit is for life. And the amount is about $143 a month as of 2021 and $149 as of 2022. On top of that, for your employees that retire with a certain amount of service and at specific ages, they get an additional benefit to age 65. And so that's medical and dental. And if you retire with 55 and 5 years of service, and you're part of these groups that you see here, MDA, Management and Confidential, for example, they get the Kaiser rate up to the employee or the retiree plus the spouse. And they have to retire before age 63. And if they retire after age 63, they only get the Kaiser rate, but for the retiree only. So if they were to choose coverage for the spouse, that would be out of pocket. And so for your classified and M&O employees, they all get, after 55 and 5, the Kaiser rate for the retiree only. So again, if they want to cover their spouse or family, that comes out of pocket. And these benefits are up to age 65. After that, if they want to continue on the CalPERS medical, they have to pay the majority of it with the district only responsible for $149. Now that changes every year based on what inflation is, and it's set again by statute. And so what is the purpose? And so again, really you're providing this benefit to your employees, but we don't really know what that cost is going to be. So we're trying to estimate the cost. We're trying to estimate when your employees are going to retire. And when they retire, what's the cost for them taking a benefit? And so the first thing is we try to estimate the lifetime of each active employee and the retiree on an individual basis. And then we kind of aggregate all of that together to come up with these numbers. And so the first step is to estimate the projected benefit payments that you're expected to make every single year for all future years. And so this table that we're showing you here is just showing you the first 10 years. And so the expected payments that you see, the first column there, that is what the district is expected to pay every single year. So this year, you're expected to pay about $6 million. And then by 2031, you're expected to pay about $13 million. The direct pay go is the amount that you're paying directly to the retirees. That's the amount you've promised. The implicit subsidy is an additional amount, and this is an estimated cost. So your retirees and your active employees pay the same premium. But in general, as we get older, we tend to cost more for healthcare. We need more services, we utilize healthcare more. And so in general, retirees tend to cost more because they're older. But if they're paying the same premium, then they're essentially being subsidized to some extent. And that's where that cost is coming from. And so then after we calculate all the expected benefit payments, then we bring all those future payments to today's dollars. And so that is what we call the projected benefit, the present value of future benefits. Then we take all those future value, all that present value, and we break it up into what's already been earned based on service through the valuation date. And so in this chart that you see here, the 220.8 million is what your employees have already earned through the valuation date. That yellow sliver, that 15.1, that represents what they're expected to earn in this coming year. So through 21 through 22, they're getting one more year of service. They're getting 1 year closer to retirement. So they're going to increase the cost by 15 million. And then all their future service is about 189 million. And so when we break those numbers up into this accrued liability, so we're looking at the green piece, the 220 million. What is that as a number per employee or per retiree? And so the total liability for your active employees is about 165.6 million. And so that translates to about $52,000 per employee. And so what that means is that they've earned $52,000 in these benefits. That's in today's dollars, prorated for service, what that cost is. And then they're expected to earn an additional $5,000 every single year, for example, until they retire. And so your retirees, the expected cost for your retirees is about $38,000 for their lifetime per retiree. And so you can think of this total OPEB liability as a cost, a debt that the district has on its books for promising this benefit. And the service cost is the little piece they're expected to earn every single year until they retire. So pre-funding. So pre-funding means you're setting aside assets to pay for this benefit. On the pension side, you're doing it already for CalPERS through CalSTRS, again, governed by statute. But on the OPEB side, there's no statutory requirement to pre-fund these liabilities. And so there's a wide variety of approaches that school districts and public agencies across the state and across the country take. And many school districts actually do not pre-fund their liability. They're what it's called on a pay-as-you-go. So whatever the cost is for the year for the retirees, that's what they're paying every single year. And they're not setting aside assets. There are those that are partially funding. That means that they've decided to they've set aside some assets, but only as budget or budget allows or on a discretionary basis. So they're not asking an actuary what they think they should fund. It's more of what can we afford? And so when we look at our subset of clients, about 360 of them, you can see that of the 360, about 100 of them are pre-funding. And the average funded ratio is about 60%. So again, that kind of, and about 30% are pre-funding. So only about a third of them are actually setting aside assets. And so what are some of the benefits of setting aside assets to pay for this benefit? Well, there are lower long-term costs, right? The goal is that you would set aside these assets in a trust that is invested in the markets, however your allocation, if you want to be fixed income, equities, whatever, and you're expected to get some return. Well, those earnings that you're getting on those assets will pay for future benefits. And that means less contributions in the long term. And then through a sustainable funding strategy, you are paying for the benefits while they're being earned, not when they're being paid. And so by the time that somebody retires, you have enough money for that person that you don't have to pay for them anymore because you've saved enough already by the time they retire. And lastly, one of the big benefits is that if you are funding, let's say at a 6% level, let's say you're invested in 60% equities, 40% fixed income, and you can use a lower discount rate because you can use what you're expected to earn on those assets as the discount rate. So that's what we bring, how we bring all those future payments to today's dollars. And you can see that right now the discount rate was 2.16 because by GASB requirements, it has to be tied to a municipal bond. It's about 220. But if you were to use a 6% discount rate, then your liability comes down to 150 million. So that's a pretty big drop. So that, again, that is one of the benefits of that. And again, the discount rate is just an example. It all depends on what long-term expected returns are supposed to be. And so what are some of the potential benefit changes? Well, the thing is that benefits are negotiated to a large extent through unions and through agreements. And so if you wanted to, you could establish a new tier for OPEB benefits for new employees. It would have to be collectively bargained. You can also withdraw from the CalPERS Health and move to another pool or another program, such as CISC or VIBA, or there are other programs out there that you can participate in. But you would have to do a pros and cons analysis of what are the benefits of moving to those pools. And the other thing is, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to reduce your OPEB liability by leaving a CalPERS, because those programs can be more expensive to you. They can be about the same. So it really depends on the premium rate structure. There are pools out there where the retirees are rated separately from the active employees. And so the implicit subsidy doesn't exist anymore. And so that lowers that liability because you don't have that implicit subsidy there. So again, you have to kind of weigh those costs to the district. Then you can apply, there is a statute for school districts under PEMCA where you can have different service requirements, but it has to apply to all of your active employees. So it has to be collectively bargained. Where can you kind of reduce that PEMCA minimum by changing the vesting requirements? And we've seen many school districts exercise this piece of the legislation where practically reduces the post-65 liability to zero. But again, it has to be collectively bargained, and you have to give CalPERS ample time. So there's legal issues that you'd have to seek legal counsel for and stuff like that on that. And that's really it. Basically, ways to reduce your overall unfunded liability is you start setting aside assets, and try to pay those obligations, or you can reduce future benefits. Those are kind of your two options to reducing this overall liability. So any questions?
Thank you for this presentation. It's very helpful for us to really understand more of the details related to OPEB. It looks to me like from your report and just how things work that really all of this needs to be bargained. So when I look at page 4 of the report that shows our current description of retiree benefits, I can see that some of our groups have more benefits than others, and also that the district contribution is 100%, whereas for our current employees, we pay 80%. Is that right? 80%. So we're actually paying more for our retirees' health benefits than for our current employees, which is an interesting place to be.
Yeah, and sorry, it's a little misleading with that. We say 100% up to the district cap, and so the district cap is explicit right below there.
Okay, right. I see the Kaiser,
right,
the Kaiser rate.
But you're
for
right.
Current employees, we have the Kaiser rate as well, and it's not 100%.
Got it. Yeah.
Necessarily. So this seems to me like an area that when people talk about, we should make when we need to make budget cuts. Just because of the situation that we're in, and we want to make cuts away from the classroom, this would be a place where it's a little bit away from the classroom, and maybe you could create some equity between our current employees versus our retired employees. But it sounds to me like all of that would need to be collectively bargained with each of the individual units, correct?
Yeah, that's our understanding in general. Again, we're not legal counsel. We're not allowed to practice law. All we're trying to do is kind of value what you've already promised your employees. But yes, but technically for public agencies, a lot of these benefits are collectively bargained. So you kind of have to do it that way. Yeah.
Thank you.
I don't see any other questions, but thank you. It's something to think about when we're looking at long-term cost savings, and thank you for sharing that information with us. Thank you for Dr. Gonzalez for bringing it tonight.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, that takes us to 18.4, review and potential approval of charter schools facilities final offer for Clayton Valley Charter. Dr.
Yeah, and there's information on this item, but really there is no presentation. This is just, if you have questions, we can, we can address it, but it's pretty standard and so we're just looking for potential approval.
Any questions from board members? If you have a question, or if you're not, you can make a motion. Leave it to the pleasure of the board.
Madam President, I move that the board approve the final offer of facilities to Clayton Valley Charter for the fiscal year 22-23.
Second.
Thank you. Trustee Fowler?
Yes.
That passes 5-0 with agreement from our student board member. Takes us to the next item, 18.5, name change for positions allocated to CCEIS plan to address significant disproportionality. And we have a speaker. Do you want to?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and
And then
just
we'll do
introduce this item. As this board knows, we are again significantly disproportionate, and in this case, it is because of we have a high number of African American students that are disproportionately being identified, and so this board has already approved our SACE plan, and within that plan, there are dollars allocated for us to have some positions that can help address some of the issues. And the original job title of this was, there's 3, but I'll just read one of them. Family Involvement and Community Engagement Programs Coordinator, Comprehensive Coordinated Early Intervening Services. That was the job title. And so applicants, the couple applicants that we did have, they knew what this was, but I think we're missing the boat on several others. And so one thing that we want to do is to be intentional with what we want this position to do and who this position is designated to serve. And as you know, our SACE plan is a general education plan. So the individuals who take on these positions will be working with administrators, staff, families, students from throughout the district. And so we didn't want someone to take this position who maybe was uncomfortable in the work that it needs, but we also wanted to attract individuals who are skilled and and have experience in this area, who can really help us address this problem that we have been working on for some time. So just wanted to give you a brief kind of explanation of why we're bringing this back with the name change, and I'm hoping that Mr. Mims will be doing a public comment on this
Yes, he
item.
is.
Yep, great.
Okay.
So yes, and then
We're
we'll
ready for
answer
you,
any
Mr.
questions.
To the board again. I support the name change, but I have some I've read the description, and so first of all, it's a program that's in dire need to address your biggest problem within the Mount Daniel East School District, and that's the African American segment. But in terms of the job description, I think that if it does not include, for example, an African American Site Advisory Council, a team, an African American School Site Advisory Team at each school, and also it should include an African American Parent Advisory Council, because if you're going to try to resolve the issue, you have to purposely involve the parents. And so at this particular time, there's no African-American advisory council or nothing else within the school district that I know of. Maybe you have one since I've not been coming here lately. But anyway, as I was saying, so there is a dire need. For example, in terms of your suspensions, highest subgroup consistently, year in and year out, have been the African-American subgroup. Your California assessment scores, the lowest assessment scores have been the African-American subgroup year in and year out. Your graduating class, for example, an African graduating class, for example, in 2000, the last class that took that state test, took it in 2018-19, they graduated in 2020. And so on one part of the subsection of the test, it asks, how well do students understand stories and information that they read? Your 11th grade class, the class that took that test, that graduated in 2020, 83% of the students did not meet the state requirements in terms of understanding stories that they read. But that is that's just 11th grade. But it starts in the 3rd grade, and it's a consistent pattern all the way through. And so you have a systemic issue here in terms of seriously addressing the needs of this specific group. And so hopefully that this program here that's being introduced by Dr. Clark will begin to really address the problem. And I see the issue about data again. You know, everybody talks about being data-driven. But if you are data-driven, where's your results from being data-driven? Anyway, thank you.
Okay, just in my memory, there is in our SACE plan, a parent focus school site. So there will be a parent, what's it called?
Yes, it's a parent advisory committee,
Is it called
African-American
parent
advisory
African-American
committee.
Parent Advisory.
Yeah.
We got you.
And then there's also, I know we had many student focus groups, including elementary, middle, and high school students for African American students. So, and we always got all the BSUs. So that's really good too.
Sounds like it would be good to make sure that the full SACE plan is shared with Mr. Mims and the NAACP so that they are all caught up to date, even if they weren't at recent meetings. Yeah.
Yeah.
I move that we approve the name change for the positions allocated in the SACE plan to address significant disproportionality.
I'll second.
Thank you. Trustee Fowler?
Yes.
And that passes 5-0 with agreement from our student board member. Thank you, Mr. Mims, for your input. Always appreciated. And I believe that concludes our agenda for the evening. What was that, Mr. Mims?
Were the board reports too
Now,
long?
you know, when I'm chairing the meetings, they tend to go snappy, snappy. Yeah, that happened. Okay, so everybody, thank you for a great meeting. Thank you for all the work you do for the district, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.